Hey Twilights, welcome back to Twilight Corner. So in today's video we are going to be studying chapter number 5 for class 9 Beehive of English, that is the snake and the mirror. So let's start, but before we start, make sure to like this video. Subscribe. Come on guys. Let's actually reach 100 subscribers by the end of the month, and also share this video with your friends. All right. So let's start with, yeah, make sure to do this. Alright, so before you read, do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? Obviously everyone likes to look at themselves in the mirror. Before you go out, you check whether you look good or not, right? So obviously, and then what do you think about at such times? What do you think? That you look good, you may think that, should I fix my hair or should I do something else also? Like, you might think like that, okay? So have you ever seen a dog, a cat, or a bird like seen themselves in the mirror? Have you ever seen that? Well, I think so. Yeah, why not? I think so. I mean, what do you think it sees? I think it sees its reflection, maybe. Who knows? I've not seen much of these cases before, but obviously dog owners, cat owners might have seen, I guess. So this is a humorous story about a doctor and a snake. So in this, doctor and a snake, and then a mirror. So we are going to be reading about this, all right? Has a snake ever coiled itself around any part of your body? तो मान लो तुम यहाँ हो, and this is the snake, okay? So has it ever the snake ever coiled you around like any part of your body? हाथ हो गया, neck हो गया, anything like that. Plus a full-blooded cobra. Has this ever been happened? I don't think so. Whether ऐसे like होते हैं कहीं पे जाते हो तो होते हैं ऐसे कि snakes को तुम you can touch them and you can put them on your body and stuff like that, like ऐसे पकड़ने के लिए, but they're not poisonous. But this one is a full-blooded cobra. So what do you think? Sorry, my bad. So all of us felt silent. So when this question arose, this was like, wow, ऐसा कभी हुआ तो नहीं मेरे साथ. So the question came from a homeopath. Okay. So this question came from a homeopath. The topic came up when we were all discussing snakes. So whatsoever is this, everyone were discussing snakes. So we listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. So this tale is told by a doctor. तो ये जो doctor थे, don't mind the drawing. So the doctor was telling us about a tale, okay? मतलब एक story बता रहे थे. So let's see. Now the actual story starts from here. ठीक है? That was just a small intro. So it was a hot summer night, about 10 o'clock. I had had my meal at a restaurant and I returned to my room. So obviously it was a hot summer night. मतलब पूरा it was warm out there. Summers में humidity वगैरह हो जाती है. It's fully like गर्मी छिड़ देती है ना, तो that was there, and then it was almost around 10 o'clock at night. ठीक है, so the doctor had just had his dinner, and he just had his meal from a restaurant, and then he returned back to his room or his dorm. Okay, and then I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was the sound was a familiar one. So when he opened the door, he heard a sound from the above. मतलब छत पे से, from the roof, he heard a sound from in his room. Okay. So what happened was that the sound that he heard, it was quite familiar. Familiar meaning that it was quite recognizable, meaning that he had heard the sound before. So one could say that the rats and I shared a room. Matlab he thought that the rats were living up in the roof. Okay. So I took out my box of matches and lighted a kerosene lamp on the table. So he just took out a box of matches, and then उसने अपना kerosene lamp ही जला लिया. ठीक है. So he lighted it up. So the house was not electrified. It was a small rented room. मतलब ज़्यादा extravagant था नहीं. It was just a small rented room where I had just set up my medical practice, and my earnings were meager. Meager मतलब small in quantity. He was not earning much, but he was in a medical practice. So I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase. So around उसके पास 60 rupees थे overall in his suitcase. Along with that, he had some shirts and some dhotis as well. So I was also possessed with one solitary black coat. मतलब एक solid black coat था that he used to here and there wear, so which I was wearing. So he would go out and wear that itself. तो उसके पास एक अच्छी piece थी, that was a black solitary coat. He had 60 rupees and he owned some shirts and dhotis. All right. So I took off my black coat, white shirt, and not so white vest. Matlab, he took off his black coat, like he took it off, whatever he was wearing, and then he took off his white shirt, and then he took off his white vest. Matlab, the white vest was a little dirty, so that's why he said not so white vest, but it was very dirty. And then he hung it all up in a hanger. I opened the two windows in the room. दो windows होते हैं in the room. He had, for example, this is your room, and then उसमें दो windows थे. ठीक है. So it was an outer room with one wall facing an open yard. So one of the walls were facing a yard. मतलब it was facing a backyard or a garden. ठीक है. So it had a tiled roof. मतलब it was having tiles on the roof. ठीक है. तो which was having sloping gables. मतलब ये वाली जो घर नहीं बनाते रहते हम लोग, तो this is made up of tiles, suppose, and this is obviously sloping, right? So these are supporting gables. ठीक है. So gables means it is the upper part of the wall supporting a slope below. तो ये जो part होता है, this is called gable. ठीक है. तो ये जो part हुआ, this is called gable. That rested on the beam over the wall. So it rested on a beam over the wall. ठीक है. So this is your wall and this is the beam, and the gable is resting over it. So there was no ceiling. तो कोई ceiling wheeling थी नहीं, and there was a regular traffic of rats to and from the beam. मतलब overall the rats were making a lot of noise. So I made my bed and pulled it close to the wall. So he made his bed and then he pulled it close to the wall. मतलब he pulled it aside. I lay down, but I could not sleep. So he lay down on his bed, but he could not sleep. So I got up and I went out in the veranda for some fresh air. So he went out in his balcony to get some little fresh air or little air. But the wind god seemed to be taken time off. मतलब he was on a holiday and then the wind was not there. ठीक है. So I went back into the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the book beneath in the table and took out a book. The Materia Medica. So basically the book's name was Materia Medica. This could come as a question. Please note this down, underline it. So what did he do? He sat in his room. Okay, he sat down. He pulled out a chair. He sat down, and then under that there was a box. So he took that, and beneath that there was a book. So he took that out. And उस book का क्या नाम था? Materia Medica. So I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp. So there was a table, and over there was a lamp. There was a lamp there, okay, and there was a very large mirror. Okay, so on the lamp there was a large mirror and a lamp, okay, on the table. So a small comb. There was a small comb. ये मान लो comb है, ठीक है. This doesn't look like comb. It looks like F. मैंने लिखा है. Just मान लो ये comb है तुम्हारा. And then it lay near the mirror. तो comb was here. So one feels tempted to look into a mirror as it is a near one. So obviously it's just in front of you. So obviously you would want to see yourself. So I took a look. In those days, I was a great admirer of beauty, and I believed in making myself look handsome. So he believed in those days, meaning that in earlier times when he was younger, he used to be an admirer of beauty. Matlab he admired himself a lot. He believed that he would make himself look handsome. I was unmarried and I was a doctor. I felt I had to make my presence felt. So he felt that people should feel that I'm here. So I picked up a comb and ran through my comb. So ऐसे ही बाल झाड़ लिया and adjusted my parting. So it was a straight parting and it looked neat and straight. Okay, जो partition करते हैं ना, तो that was a straight parting. ठीक है, all right. Again, I heard that sound from above, the rattling noise that he heard. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. So he took a very close look at himself. जैसे तुम देखते हो. Again, I heard that rattling noise again. So I took a close look at my face in the mirror. So he was just seeing himself. I made an important decision. So अब सोच रहा था, he was overthinking. I should shave daily and grow a thin mustache. मतलब उसकी शक्ल देख रहा था वो. तो he thought a thin mustache would look good on him, not a beard. ठीक है, बियर्ड मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा ही मुस्टैच हो जाता है, ठीक है. तो to look more handsome. I was after all a bachelor and a doctor. Now exaggeration भाई, I'm a bachelor, I'm a doctor, तो obviously I should look handsome, right? तो ये सब बोल रहा था. I looked into the mirror and smiled. He smiled at himself, right? It was an attractive smile. I made another catch shaking decision. He made another catch shaking decision कि भाई अब मैं ये भी करूँगा. I would always keep that attractive smile on my face. मतलब स्माइल ही करते रहेगा, जब सोएगा तब भी स्माइल करेगा क्या, ठीक है, वो नहीं करेगा, बट हाँ, to just to look more handsome. I was after all a bachelor and a doctor too on top of it. तो he was just खुद को ही बढ़ावा दे रहा है कि भाई मैं ये हूँ वो हूँ, ठीक है. Alright. So I got up, placed up and down the room. So he got up and then he paced up, sorry. He was running or walking faster, and then he was walking here and there around the room. Then another lovely thought struck my mind. जब वो walk कर रहा था, something struck his mind again. I would get married to a woman doctor who had a plenty of money and good medical practice. वाह. अब उसको शादी करने का ख्याल आ गया. तो ही थॉट वो शादी करेगा एक वुमेन डॉक्टर से. तो नॉट एन इंजीनियर, नथिंग एल्स, ही वुड मैरी अ वुमेन डॉक्टर, ठीक है. एंड दैट वुमेन डॉक्टर वुड बी हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, मतलब शी वुड बी रिच, ओके. And then what is it that and then she was also having a good medical practice. मतलब she was good at performing surgeries वगैरह वगैरह सब, she was good at it, so she's an expert. And but she had to be fat. क्यों भाई? Why did she had to be fat? For a valid reason, obviously. कि भाई, if I made some mistake, silly mistake, I needed to run, she would not be able to come to run after me and catch me. Wow. Now, if the woman who is there, right, she has to be fat, but she also has to be rich, and then she also has to be a woman doctor who is good at medical practice. And then, क्यों fat होना है? Because if the doctor did a silly mistake, he could run, and then the woman doctor would not be able to catch him. right? So this is a stupid reason, but हाँ. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. There were no more sounds from above. Suddenly, there came a dull thud as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. ठीक है. अब क्या हुआ, वो बैठा हुआ था, ठीक है, तो he was resuming to sit on his seat, continuing to sit on his seat, and then there was the table in front of him, but then the sounds had actually stopped, but he heard a small thud, मतलब एक गिरने वाली ढम की आवाज, जैसे ये, wait I'll do it, तो ऐसे एक ढम की आवाज he heard, okay, तो basically it was kind of like a rubber tube had fallen down. Surely nothing to worry about, कुछ ज़्यादा dainty voice ही थी, it wasn't that much. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. So he turned around, he would take a look. So no sooner had I turned that a fat snake wrigged over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. Wow. So he thought he would turn around, है ना? Once he thought of turning around, there was a big fat snake. There was a snake sitting on his shoulder right here. Oh my god. So basically, uh yeah, there was a snake sitting on his shoulder, and the back of the chair had landed on my shoulder. So the snake's landing on me by turning were simultaneous. It's not simultaneous, it's simultaneous. अच्छा जो भी है, right? So whenever he turned back, it was like कि वैसे ही उधर ही करना था. It was exact proportionate, ठीक है. So I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any of this stuff. The snake had slithered over my shoulder and coiled over my left arm and then above my elbow. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. अब देखो क्या हुआ. So he didn't cry out, he didn't freak out, he didn't jump or tremble anything. कुछ नहीं किया उसने. There was nothing, there was no time for him to do this stuff, ठीक है. So what he did was that he saw that the snake which was there, it has slithered around, matlab it has moved around from his along his shoulder and then coiled around his arm, matlab it had wrapped around his left arm above the elbow, and the hood was spread out, matlab uska hood was fully spread out and the snake was hardly 3 to 4 inches away from his face. So it would not be a correct to say merely that I had sat there holding my breath. So he had sat there, he was not breathing. I had turned to a stone. Matlab he was not even, he was so still that nothing. तो बट माई माइंड वॉज वेरी एक्टिव, उसका माइंड अभी भी चल रहा था, यू नो, बहुत चंचल दिमाग था. तो द डोर ओपन इन टू डार्कनेस. अब डोर खुल गया ऑफ हिज माइंड, दैट यू नो, अब ओवर थिंकिंग स्टार्ट हो गई. So in the light of the lamp, I sat like a stone, imagine in the flesh. So I felt then the great presence of a creator of this world, of this universe, that God was there. तो उसे ऐसा लगा कि God itself came down to teach him a lesson. Suppose I said something and he did not like it. उन्होंने कुछ ऐसा बोल दिया कि God को पसंद नहीं आया, and I tried in my imagination to bring out the letters outside my little head in little heart, the words oh God. मतलब he tried to imagine कि भाई I would write oh God in my mind. Okay, so there was some pain in my left arm. So after that he had some sign that कि हाँ भाई भगवान ही है इधर. So if it was as if a thickened leaden rod, leaden rod, no rod made up of molten fire, was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. So he felt a sharp pain that was there. That a rod made up of molten fire was, what do you call it? Striking his or crushing his arm. My arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What could I do? वैसा उसको लग रहा था. How much is more there? Little bit only. जल्दी जल्दी खत्म करते हैं. So the arm was okay. This is done. At my slightest movement, the snake would strike me. So if there would be even a slight movement, the snake would stumble and then done. Death. Death lurked 4 inches away. Matlab, it was just around the corner. Suppose it struck me, and what was the medicine I had to take? He did not know. There were no medicines obviously in his room because he only had 60 rupees in his luggage, right? So I was but a poor, foolish and stupid doctor. बहुत foolish था, and then he had no sense and like that. ठीक है, so he was a very stupid doctor. I forgot my nature and smiled feebly at myself. तो ऐसी हल्की सी स्माइल दी उसने. It seemed that as if God had appreciated that he called himself a foolish and stupid doctor. So it was overconfidence, right? इसलिए. So the snake turned its head. It turned its head a little. It looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. It also saw its reflection. Now the snake, suppose this is a snake and this is a mirror, so it's looking at itself directly inside the mirror. I did not claim that it was the first snake to ever look into the mirror. It was his first time. But it was certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? खुद को देख के वो हंस रहा था या it was just admiring its own beauty? So this is a situation that is shown here. So perhaps it wanted to enjoy the reflection of its close quarters. To make an important decision about growing a mustache or using an eyeshadow and mascara over a vermilion spot over its forehead, तो उसकी जो vermilion spot होगा, तो he thought, do I need to use mascara? The snake, वो सोच रहा था कि whether the snake wanted to use eyeshadow or mascara. Okay. So I did not know anything for certain. So what sex was this snake? So he did not even know the gender of the snake. It was whether it was male or female. So I will never know, for the snake to unwound itself from my arm and slowly slither into my lap. So it was finally coiling down its arm and shoulder, and it slithered into his lap. From there he crept into the table and moved towards the mirror. So he moved towards the mirror. It means it moved closer to the mirror. Perhaps it really wanted to enjoy his reflection in close quarters. मतलब खुद से अच्छे से देखना चाहता था. तो I was no mere image cut in granite. I was suddenly a man of flesh and blood. Though he was not a diamond, the doctor was not a diamond, but he was just an ordinary man with flesh and blood, matlab skin and blood. Still holding my breath, I got up from the chair. I quietly went out to the door into the veranda. From there, I leapt into the yard and ran for all I was worth. So he ran away. So holding his worth, ki bhai, I cannot risk my life. Phew! Each of a heaven sigh of relief. Matlab finally he took a breath of relief. Somebody asked, Doctor, is your wife very fat? No, the doctor says. God willed otherwise. My life companion is thin and reedy, a person with a gift of a sprinter. So he wished for a fat wife. Na? So if when someone asked, when he was telling the story, someone asked, Bhai, was your wife very fat? But no, God has sent him a thin wife, which was a very reedy person. Matlab, she was very good at sprinting and she had the talent of a sprinter. Somehow, someone else asked, Doctor, when you ran, did the snake follow you? So, did it follow you? The doctor replied, I ran and ran till I reached my friend's house. मतलब इतना दौड़ा मैं कि till I reached my friend's house. Immediately I smeared oil all over myself and took a bath. So he took a bath and he smeared oil all over himself. I changed into fresh clothes, and the next morning about 8:30, I took my friend I took my friend and one or two others into my room to move my things from there, but we had very little things to carry. He took a bath, he changed into fresh clothes, then he went next morning to his house at 8:30, and then he took a few friends along with himself that I need to shift. तो let me move, but he realized that बहुत कम ही चीजें थी to be taken out, right? And there was nothing much to be cleaned out, so the room had already been cleaned out. So some thief had already removed all of my things, most of his things, ठीक है? So most of his things were stolen, but not really. The thief had left behind the one and final insult. And what was that, I asked? The doctor said. The thief was also very disgusted. About what? That The doctor said, my vest, the dirty one. The fellow had a sense of cleanliness. मतलब at least the thief was much better than the doctor कि भाई थोड़ा तो साफ कर लिया करो खुद को. And something known as hygiene. The rascal could have taken it and used it for washing with soap and water. Did you see the snake next day, doctor? Doctor life. The doctor laughed. I've never seen it since. मतलब उस दिन के बाद I've never seen it. It was a snake which was taken with its own beauty. Matlab, it was attracted to its own beauty. Okay. So this beautiful and humorous story is written by Baiko Muhammad Bashir. This is a great, Malayalam story, I feel. And then this was actually originally written by V. Abdullah from Malayalam, but it's translated now, it seems. So yeah, it was a good story. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and also share this video with your friends and help me reach 100 subscribers by the end of the month. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye. Take care. Bye, Twilights.